Hello, everybody. This is James Diboe on Discovering, dedicated to original peoples as always. And we've got a special guest on. First time she's been on, been waiting to get on for a very long time. Miss Valerie Watson, how you doing? Peace, my sister. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you, James. I'm really glad that you've invited me on the show because I just think it's such a positive history of art history and getting to know about ourselves. You know what I mean? That to me is valuable.
Definitely. Well, you're definitely a person I've been trying to reach out for a long time because I'm always trying to look at like the people I can really solidly relate to as Pan-Africanism and dealing with not only when we're dealing with Black history, some people think we have to bring up the negative things, but also I like positive things as well. Some of the great
Very,
things and
very
going
important.
and
And
going back.
that's where I feel I'd
Yeah,
like to share my light really
yeah,
regarding the positiveness of
yeah.
what's come out of the time and the era of when I was born. Given my parents were Windrush, they
Okay.
came here in the 50s. I was surprised to know at that time that my grandmother, who actually infiltrated all the family over to England, owned big giant houses. She owned the likes of Chatham Street, a couple of houses on Selborne Street, Atherley Street, Rosebery Street. And today, when I sit down and look at it, I think, how did they accumulate that wealth?
Hmm.
You know, how did they accumulate that wealth? And I mean, we're going back, she must have been coming here from the early 50s. You know what I mean? I do believe she worked in the army. So that kind of gave her the papers and the rights to come into this country. But to accumulate such wealth, wow. And I mean, being Black as well. So when I dug into it a little bit, I found out that they had a lot of help from the Jews. And the Jewish people actually concentrated in Liverpool 8 before the Blacks came. Now, given compulsory purchase and the state of some of the houses, they were able to obtain these properties at a very cheap price. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think she was one of them wise old women who basically knew what a pound was and knew what she could get for it. You know what I'm saying? And she accumulated this wealth. Well, right up until I was born, 1961, um, siblings come over from Jamaica, my sister who was born in 1952, and all of us had properties to live in. My parents had a property from my nan, and my sister had property from my nan. And then back in 1972 came this compulsory purchase. Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
compulsory purchase looked at the state of your house, more so looking at lead pipes leaking, the walls falling down, the structure. There's a lot of things going on, and a lot of this stuff wasn't really dealt with from the war. You know what I
Okay.
mean? From the
Yeah.
Second World War. So you can imagine the state of some of these houses, the foundations that were rattled. Some houses were moved, like the windows looked like they should be more centered, but were going to the left. You know what I mean? So a lot of these properties got knocked down. And in saying that, the city council were able to reclaim Liverpool 8 from the wealth of the black man.
Okay.
Now,
Mm.
I look at that and I think in this time, all of us were born to have prosperity from your family. That's the way it went. And especially our families coming from faraway places, Africa, Jamaica, that's how it works. So if you have a family house back home, that's handed down to your family. You with me?
Yeah.
By
Yeah.
1972, we were all paying rent.
What's happened?
We were all paying rent. We can only talk about the family history of what we had in the big house, what our families owned, the front, the back, the rooms they rented to other people. It all become now a parable of history. But this to me was the story of our ownership. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that ownership in Liverpool 8, my nan shared it with the Irish. Excuse me. Now,
Okay.
back then, as you know, there was no blacks, no Irish, no dogs. That was the name given on posters in shops, in workplaces, and houses when people were looking for accommodation. So we had the Irish now as second relatives, so to speak. So my nan, she'd put us in a big house, and according to how my mother had children, there was 7, so she must have started with 1, 2, and then there was rooms in this house that she could rent out, and it was rented out to the Irish, and that allowed my parents to go and find employment, because then people were able to look after us on a shift, and then my mother would look after their children on a shift. So as a Black family, we were brought up with all Irish godparents, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it was the most valuable upbringing I had, really, because we shared so much coming from a Black and a white hemisphere of suffering. But out of it, there was a lot of pluses, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
In surviving in England. And I look at the richment of that coming from me nan, coming with the Irish, surviving in Britain, and even to my mother, even though she's passed, she lived to earn her property, to own her property, to pay her rent. She was never, ever, ever going to be in a situation where she went out and went to the council. And that was actually the mindset of a lot of the migration that came into England then, to own their own. But as you can see, they have been duped by the government.
Now,
You
can I
know,
ask a question about the property anyway? Was these coming buying houses cash or with a mortgage, or was it like a how was it being done?
oh, it was cash. These were cash payments.
Wow,
Because
cut out
back
the
in the
interest.
day, we might have this thing in England, which people might call a tonny, and everyone every week comes and puts money into the tonny, and you're able to take money out. Well, according to my family and our tradition, it was called partner. Yeah. And everybody could put a hand in the partner. So if the partner was like £5 a month, yeah, you put your £5 in, and if you had 3 people, that means you was able to withdraw £20. You
Okay, yeah,
understand me?
yeah.
And do something with that £20. And as you know, back in that day, that was big money, because people were only working for pounds and shillings and pennies. You know what I'm saying? So they were able to do these cash hands with partner, and some people had 2 hands in the partner or 3 hands in the partner, according to how hard they was working and what they could afford. So the majority of their stuff, believe you me, was always about the cash.
Right, okay. So where the council come into it now? Like, I mean, like you have the right to buy when you. I mean, that seems like the best option right now for anybody. Outside of a mortgage, if you know what I mean, right to buy, no deposit, and get it for less than that. So where did where did it all start to fall? Because I mean, I've got
Well, I would actually say the suppression of it
Mm.
really came back in 1972.
72.
By the time we got to the 80s, we had the riots, right? Now,
Yeah.
as far as I was concerned, I believe there should have been a reparation made to Black people. You know why?
Yeah.
Because when they come and done the compulsory purchasing, not all of them houses got knocked down.
Right, yeah,
Some of them are still standing today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Houses on Mulgrave Street, they were owned by black people, Black merchants. You understand me?
Yeah.
And they come and got this compulsory purchase money, which was one money for everybody. It didn't matter what you'd done to your house. Yeah. You could paint it, you could have put the gates on it, you could have put statues outside. If they said you're only getting 1,100 quid, that's what you're getting.
Right, okay.
You understand me?
Yeah,
So it was a set amount of money that was spent. Now, coming from them families that lived in their merchant houses, yeah, they ended up now being the people who were put directly onto the council and housing trust.
Okay.
Or housing associations, I should say. You with me?
Yeah.
And that now has kind of bred the whole dysmorphia of Black people in Liverpool 8 not owning their own properties. In a long story, and to cut it short, there is a great history relating to that, because I know even yourself, you have heritage where your grandfather had a club.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's
There's
it.
so many of us that we could look at, and even if it wasn't just your grandfather, there was shares like his countrymen, maybe 3 or 4 of them who come together and done that. You understand?
Yeah.
Now, behind me where I live here, I live by the Alex, and in front of my house is all the main houses on Princess Road. One of them belonged to solicitors. Yeah.
Solicitors.
Now, this solicitor could see what was happening on Princess Road, the demise at this time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So next door to the solicitors, you had a club called the Sierra Leone. Further on down door again to the Sierra Leone. All these buildings I'm talking about, you know, people own them and they're still alive. Next door to the Sierra Leone, you have the law centre, 2 big giant buildings, and then on the very end of the corner you had an education centre, yeah, where kids used to go who were dropping out of school, as they're called NEETs today, and they used to go there. Now all of this was a service to the Liverpool Lake community. Yeah. One by one, everything all got refused insurance because it's a public liability, so we're not giving you insurance.
Yeah.
That's the law centre. The club, you can call it police harassment, but under public liability insurance, we're not giving it to you. Remember now, next door to the Sierra Leone is a solicitor who knows the law.
Yeah.
Who bought the Sierra Leone? The solicitor.
Okay.
He bought it within the 1990s. Yeah. And that money was divided, very sadly to say, amongst 4 men. And I don't think these 4 men got 10 grand each.
Oh.
I don't think these 4 men could even afford to go back to Africa and visit and pay homage to their family for the club which they've had for nearly over 50 years.
What? So
you understand me? So when you look at what we should have in a slave history, community, part of England, representation of Black people, we've had it. Honest to God, we've had it. The world and its wife used to come to Liverpool for the amount of clubs and entertainment with Black people, white people coming in, being such a mixed place. We have had it. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think the memory of what we've had should not be wiped away, because it's very hard to find right now. If you was to walk up Princess Road and knock on any door and say to them, excuse me, do you know any history of a social club around here? No, love, not like that goes on down here. But that's only been for about the past 25 years. But there's no history of our ownership.
And look at today, within now, it seems like other people, other races and different peoples have, you know, that's like us now. Well, they're us now.
Thank you. And their history of their ownership is rising.
But they're being smart.
Even mentioned.
They're being smart though, like where they'll all muck in together and pull together, you know, and help each other, you know, not backstab each other, you know, or compete with each other.
Exactly.
You all work together.
And you know, sometimes people might think the backstabbing and the anarchy is what shut them. No, it's not. You've got to see past that. That's the end of the argument. That's when it's gone.
That's when it's
gone.
You know
what I mean? It's when it was thriving and things were happening and people owned and paid their rates and paid their way. Why is it gone? You understand me? And they would actually bring it down to anarchy, but anarchy is always when people have nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what I've lived to learn.
So we need the full story on the whole picture, you know, to get the bigger picture of it. So
such a big picture. Because this is just a short mention of what we've had. Recently, we kind of done a re-analysis of Delado, the African drum and dance group that I belong to. Back in the 80s, we were #1 Arts Council representatives in England. You understand what I'm saying? Then I went to an exhibition in the Blackie relating to Black dance. There wasn't one picture of Delado in our own town. Now, it's an allergy of how I've seen my life in 60 years, and I'm not dead yet. You know what I mean? But this is where I say our history needs to be told, because we have achieved, and it wasn't our fault. It went. It's always, it's put back on us like it's our fault it went. But when something is not maintained no more, the love is gone. You see what I'm saying? And when you kill the love in a community, ooh, it's only left to shambles. This community was loved by the nation, by seamen, by all sorts of people that came in and flourished and made this place quite prosperous for the people of Liverpool 8. You know what I'm saying? And I think that, to me, is the stories that need to be told. The embassy, which is now Falconer Square, was owned by one of our own Jamaicans. You understand? Back in the day, the embassy, you know, the Housing Trust took it over as a building, a beautiful building in front of Falconer Square. These places, these buildings, the Cotton Club, I could go into it in the gentry areas, you understand? Because these were the areas where I could look at and think, nearly every street I have been in these houses. There is hardly a street I have not been in the house, in one of them, and that was all down about ownership. Take it from me.
Wow. I mean, you see, but would you
strong story?
Can I? So see, like for example, now you know, see, like the way the whole point why I do the show, you know, to promote culture, Black excellence, also our history, not just only history from a slave perspective, also beforehand. Now, when we look at culture, for example, now, because culture always seems to be, your culture is tied into your economics, you know, when, like, if you come from Jamaica or you come from Africa, and I see the culture connected with it. So now I'm looking at, like, our culture as in the majority of us. It seems like it's not as strong as it once was.
Definitely.
It seems like, now, don't get me wrong, people want to integrate, that's what you're doing now, but don't let it affect our culture, because you start losing what our values are. And I feel like our values have gone. That's why I'll always promote. And me, and my generation, I don't really connect to too many people who quite think like on a Pan-African perspective. I seem to have to connect to people older than me, or like connect to people in other countries or other cities, because I don't know, it's very watered down. And when I was younger, I seen a bit more culture than that, but it seems like it's dropped, and no one wants to hear nothing about who we are and where we've been.
It's been diluted.
Diluted.
And I'll tell you, I won't tell you exactly why, but I'll give you a reason why we've been diluted, right? We live in a northern hemisphere, a very northern hemisphere, so northern that it's making London look like it's in the Bahamas.
Yeah, definitely.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Right? Opportunities that may arise for Black people in a northern hemisphere don't get switched on as fast as those in a southern hemisphere. And here's another thing which I find with our people. We want to create the wheel, but the wheel's already been invented, and it's rolling, and it's working, and it's adding on, and it's creative, and it's the voice, the tradition, the culture of Black people still going on. Liverpool, our councils, I'm very, very sorry, but we have been too long in the white with our councils. You understand me?
Yeah.
And we've also been too long in the white in our local areas. And when I say that, I'm relating to education, and the education of a Black man's presence has always been a negative thing, but a Black man's achievement has never ever stood.
Yeah.
It's never stood to be called. A Black woman's achievement, it's never stood to be called. But if you go to London, you will hear Black achievers, from children, old people, every genre of life being acknowledged. You understand me?
Yeah.
The word Black in Liverpool, to me, has now gone down to, but they've took the lack out of it.
Yeah.
We're just bleh.
Funny you say
I'm
that.
sorry to say,
Oh,
there's no Edens of black
that's funny you say that.
culture. There's no
Yeah.
Edens of black buildings. There's nothing. But yeah, Pakistanis can have theirs, and I ain't fighting nobody. You know, I give grace to everyone who's got theirs.
Real
The
talk.
Somalis who infiltrated here back in 1984 as a majority have got theirs. If not one, they might have 3, 4 different community centres.
Yemeni centre.
Sheiks have got
Yeah.
theirs. The history alone, even regarding the Pakistanis, they actually owned Broome Terrace. The marriage place, they own that first. You understand what I'm saying?
And we don't get invited to these places, do we? But it seems like a lot of our people feel everyone can just come in. So this is why I've just allowed me to say this. You see, this show that I've got going now, it's a black show, and it's only black guest, black host, black guest, and it's nothing to do with racism or nothing like that. It's just down to show that we can do this by ourselves.
Exactly, and this is the thing.
That's it. I've had people say to me, "Oh, we should do this." I'm a consistent person, and I've been this from young, and I'm just staying consistent. Nothing's moving, you know. Like at the end of the day,
you see the power of what the black people can do by themselves has never really been shown. It's never really been shown, and I think because we feel we're in bondage in a white society, that we feel we always need the help of the Caucasian man to show us the route. Educate us ourselves and let us be our educators of our own routes.
It produces self-hate.
We can go.
A lot of self-hate has come out of this, where we need more self-love. You know, love who you are. You know, it's a lot of self-hate where like people look for white approval. So if they've said it's correct, then people go along with it instead of like knowing that we were the builders and the first civilized people on the planet. We had civilization going way back. You know, we've just got to know it. It seems like the slave trade that's came in, people only focus on that. And that's a small piece of the timeline going back in our history, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, it's very relevant today, in the year 2023, to know about your region, to know your people, to know where you live, to know the great things that have happened with migration here. You understand what I'm saying? Because in these days now, they're looking at people coming in on boats, everything else. This country is built on migration.
Yeah.
The old issues, the fundaments, the cotton that holds up the liver buildings. Come on. A black man put that in there. You see what I'm saying now? I can go into the slavery thing, but I want to deal with us as a living race today, for us to be achievable.
Yeah,
you understand?
That's right.
And I'm not setting myself up as a black peer, but I will set myself up as an outspoken person.
Yeah.
You with me? And this is what we need, because it's not just me who has this voice. There is so many other people around me that could sit here, agree, even disagree. But you know what? They'll have the reason to say it according to the hemispheres of Liverpool 8. And then hemispheres is either rich in concentration and culture, or it's weak in concentration and culture. And you know, you have different regions of Liverpool. You have black people who are brought up in Eighton and don't even know they're black.
Yeah.
Now we're inventing all these coffee coloured, sun colours, all these lovely colours of brown. But you know what? They ain't coming under that black banner.
Yeah.
But where do we come from? What is our creation? And these are the things I feel we need to be passing on to our youth, for them to understand the culture and tradition of how we think, because this isn't the old way. This is what it is.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, see, like, where they like to sometimes just throw the word just black on it with no identity. Like, you have to come from somewhere, you have to belong to something culturally.
Thank you.
So this is why, if you heard me at the beginning of this show, I said dedicate to original people, because I always try to look for the words. Like, one thing that we knew in the beginning, we knew that we were the first people around. So I always say original peoples. Plus, if you go anywhere which have traveled, met indigenous people, they're all black people around wherever you go. You could, even in this UK we're in now, You had Cheddar Man is the oldest remains of well, it's not the oldest. He's 10,000 years ago. So all these things like as far as where people want to claim land, because that's what people do, the colonizing, claiming, and then giving their little whitewash story. Christopher Columbus, when he went to America, people if people actually read his books, he said he's seen black people there when he got there.
Because that is what they know.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't even call them ignorant because that's what they've been taught.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't something they said, oh, I've made it up. Someone taught them ignorant stories of not mentioning the attributes of what the black race has actually done on the face of the earth. We are supposed to be lost people in their eyes.
Yeah.
You understand me? But yet they will pay tickets, big money, to go and sit on our islands, sit in our countries, enjoy everything about us. But when we come back to England, we're not recognised.
Yeah. That's it. It is.
Not recognised.
Yeah.
You know, so this is a real deal where I feel the positivity of who we are now. For a black man, he shouldn't have to go to Africa and see the want and the need of the people to come back here and achieve here now, because that is why your ancestors came here, for you to achieve. And I think that is the real story of onus regarding Pan-Africa culture, you understand me, and enrichment of the black man to achieve. But on these few words, mate, I'm gonna have to leave you.
Okay, well, we've only got like 7 minutes anyway left. Anyway, but you know what? We're going to continue this, and next.
Definitely.
Also, one thing just before you go, if you could just say something quick on the importance of African history, whether just a little brief, something brief if you could, on the importance of it. I always ask people this question: how important it is.
Definitely. Well, let me show you this. There's a man called Bernard Spear.
Yeah.
Writes a record, and if you listen to music, you've heard this one. Yeah. We are Africans, the Chinese are Chinese, the Indians are Indians, the white man is the white man, and we are Africans. And just stand in the mirror, look and reflect of where you come from, because we come from far away places, but it's very hard to dilute us, because your appearance will tell you your story. And that's regarding all races, all creeds, and all countries. Know yourself.
Know yourself. Well, you know what, Val? We're going to come back for the part 2 anyway. So, it's been great so far. We'll do this again.
James, thank you. It's been a sheer pleasure, man. Just keep up the good work, because you know what? It's valuable information. We don't have to die to tell our stories. We are living testimonies.
That's it. But this is James Diboe anyway. Thank you very much, Valerie Watson. This is Discovering Dedicated to Original Peoples, and we come back for the part 2. And thank you very much, Val. Bless. Peace.
All right, bless up.
We see this again.